All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. We're gonna cover, I think, at least four, maybe five stocks on this one. All right, we're gonna talk about Open, and this is what lovely looks like, right? I didn't make a video since the 30th. All right, it basically an entire week, and in the entire week, this thing did exactly what we were expecting, right? All we did was ride the eight up, 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 all the way to my very last line, right? This was the last resistance that we drew, and it's actually a doji, showing a little bit of uncertainty on that line, right? How awesome is that, right? We'll definitely set our expectations going into next week. Where are we on the weekly? Nice, interesting. Good candle, doji, good candle. You know I like those. 84 is a little high, but yeah. No, we'll talk about all this. I'm liking what we're seeing, right? Next one we're going to talk about is SoundHound. SoundHound used to be after BBAI. SoundHound barely got a few minutes on a lot of the videos. This one's going to be the focus right now because this one is setting up really nicely despite the fact that Nvidia is what? Under the 50 moving average, right? Look at this thing, right? There is a lot of green, green, green that could scary red, red, red down. I don't know how far it's going to go down, and I don't know if I'm going to give thoughts on this or not, right? But look, that's a good candle. Those are a bunch of dojis. It's hard to kind of say confirmation, no confirmation, even though we're physically all the way down here, right? Um, that said, SoundHound, which is going to be the focus, is doing, I mean, almost the polar opposite, right? So, really nice outlier in a little bit of a way, and really the lower indicators are kind of saying, hey, I don't think this is an outlier. I think there's actually some technical stuff that might be happening here, right? So, um, I don't know how much, if any, I'm going to talk about BBAI, but look, this is a perfect example of why I love the 8 and the 20. And really, I live and die by the moving averages is something I say all the time, right? Look at the just what is it just best friend. You can never go below the 8 and the 20 no matter how hard you try. Obviously right there, a couple dojis though, right? I mean, once you lose it, it's horrible. You can just do no wrong, and the 8 and the 20 will never drop you until they do, right? And man, these are now not good lines. We talked about this thing potentially coming all the way down to five, right? The weekly is still in a place where there's still a little bit of room to drop, and I mean, it's something needs to happen on BBAI quickly. Otherwise, these things are not gonna, it is what it is. This moment was caught by a real strong moving average. Obviously, the 200 right there. This one went under, but that's a long time ago. No, these are the last two runs that I think really ultimately matter, right? So we've used the 200 well. Let's see if we can use it again. And arguably, the 100 and 200 are close enough. I think my real concern, like I said, becomes the weekly chart, right? So again, I don't know how much I'm going to talk about BBAI. The focus will be SoundHound, but those will be the two there. My last chunk, look, I want to talk about SOFI. I mean, SOFI just continues to ride the 8 and 20 up, up, up as it knocks on the door of that all-time high push, right? LDI had a real big day, real big volume, and it came off of a headline. And ultimately the charts are actually pretty nice as well, right? So we'll talk about LDI. We'll talk about SoFi. I don't know which one's gonna get more time than the other, but I do think it's well worth time. Hey, really quickly, BBBY, Bed Bath and Beyond, is definitely an interesting chart. I can't make the video. I don't know why, but this one still has it on the pink, and it's definitely not the right chart, right? So I do want to cover it once it's set up on this thing. Take a look at it though. It actually did have an interesting close to the day. All right, so um, cool. Before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our five moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it. All right, so. Oh man, let's just talk about open and let's talk about how nice this has been, right? There is nothing this is really why I like my swing trading life, right? I went on a vacation with the wife. It wasn't long, it was only a couple days, but hey, I was completely away. And all this thing needed to do was not lose one of my stop losses, just maintain the 8 and the 20. And that is entirely what happened the entire week, right? So technicals are a beautiful thing, man. There's no which is better or like what's right and wrong. That's not what it is. It's be comfortable with what you're doing, and oh man, this is what it should do, right? So literally from the 30th, yo, I'll bookmark it right here just in case you didn't see it. This stock did what we expected, right? And that's always the goal. And now, hey, we're gonna set our next expectation. So few things, right? This was the last line I drew. When was the last video? Right here? No, this one. So yeah, this was the last candle that we saw. And if you look in the box right there, you can see the RSI was a 68. Again, I really have no idea behind any of the math on this, right? But I was trying to guess from down here to next spot up what's going to take that RSI from that like 68 that we are at to that 80 alarm bell, right? From there, we're excuse me, zooming back, and I'm sure I zoomed in and we kind of got some tops and bottoms, but yeah, that's a lot of what drove where we were with that line right there, right? So I'm very much liking this MACD taking off. As much as that 75 looks a little alarming, hey, it's not 80 yet, and I'm actually still seeing green over red. And I will say it's been very flat right here. Despite it being very flat, this thing has gone actually almost 2x on that flat, right? So the stock now is telling us it knows how to live at 75. I think if it starts to go up and maybe wants to come down, I don't think it's going to start to need to go excuse me, any lower than that 75 right there. This is 60 something down here. Yeah, this thing's just been flat and living very nice at like a low 70. That's awesome. The other thing I talked about, look, I like this sustained volume right there. This is hard to that's hard, right? Like that's a good slope. That becomes crazy and then you see the aftermath from there, right? This has just been a beautiful slope, and it's basically 500,000,000 shares every single day, right? Like this is how you do consistency, and oh, it's just loveliness, right? I flashed this in the opening thoughts right here. So look, that's a good candle over the 200. Dojis don't count, but that's an interesting doji right there. And the next one generally will tell you what's going to happen. That's a nice tell me what's going to happen. And it's crazy that we actually gap down and open the week down here, but then lo and behold, we end right there, right? So that's why you got to make sure you know where you're looking, and it's why daily and weekly do some interesting things. Hey, I need water. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. Okay, excuse me. Sorry about that. So, what are we looking for at this point? Look, I'm going to draw some next lines, and then I'm actually going to delete some next lines. Where are you? So that's almost 50% of that and almost the top of that. I'm going to put that $8 right there. I'm also going to delete this 330. At this point, I care more about the 20 moving average than that 330 down here, wherever it was. And this is probably going to start going a little exponentially up at some point and kind of cross that 330 and become a little more important. Where's the 8? And now we got to zoom into here to see if there's anything else worth drawing. Give me 1 sec. Don't freeze on me. There we go. Give me 1 sec. Okay. Oh, too much? It's this. Yeah, there's not too much more to draw. I don't even think I would draw that, right? Like there's something right here. It's kind of half of this big one right here. The top of that. Looks like it's the top of that. but I like where we're putting ours because it's the top of that, bottom of that, top of that. Looks like yeah, I like that is the next line right there. Um, that's the next line. So we are basically looking for this thing to now go to 810. All right, that's the next expectation up. And what I'm gonna do, where's that four line from? Give me I see where I did that. But what I do want to do is that, and I think I'm actually cool with it. Okay, so I wanted to move this to this 50% candle right here. All right, I figured, look, if we're gonna not confirm this doji on Friday to Monday, I think we would come down to here. Roughly speaking, that also might be where that 8 moving average opens, give or take, right? But let's just put that right there. And then what I did just say was, look, if you see it, that's not that bad because it looks like it's the top of a bunch of those right there and kind of the baby wick right there. So I like this line. I would say this, okay? This stock is very, okay. It's hard to say this because it is actually a substantial drop, right? If you're going to lose a sixth, wow, I can't do that math in my head, I'll be honest. What's a sixth? Come on. Oh, my numlock was off. 1 divided by... Wow. 1 divided by 6. So that's a 16, it's a 17% drop right there, right? That's not a good double-digit drop right there. But it is actually still very bullish if we were to drop all the way to 560, 550 basically, right? From there, if we were to lose 550, I think my net, but see, that's for sure gonna, maybe not, maybe I'll go there. Look, if we lose 560, we're gonna basically drop to 515. I think if this loses 515, that's where there's going to be some real worry because the next place it'll probably go is 420. All right, that would be a pretty substantial drop from this 6 something that we're at right now, right? So if you're okay eating a 16% loss, hey, it could still go down there, and I actually would say don't sweat it, right? Not financial advice, you know that, just my thoughts. Um, that said, if volume continues, right? Just look at how sustained that is. If volume can continue and just do something like right around there, right around the 6 million ish range, right? 600 million, excuse me. All of a sudden, there's actually not a green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 right? Like there's a lot of up and down, and then a full 3 years of nothing in that channel. That could be an incredibly fast channel. And it wasn't that long ago we pushed our RSI as high as a 96. So going from a 70 something to a 90 something could be incredibly fast push from that 6 to 8, right? So this doji confirming is really going to hit fast, or like I said, it might bring a 15% drop. I think the one thing to note is what has been happening lately is we go up away from the 8, then back to the 8. Up away from the 8, then back to the 8. Up away, back to. We've now gone up away. I think there's a decent chance we do the back down, but I think the fact that, like I said, it's been an absolute nothing for and really even this one, right? Like let's just take a second. Once it crossed this 5 something line, which was actually a little bit lower not that long ago, right? It was somewhere in this range right here, right? It very, very quickly went from down there to all the way up here. So we've seen this thing take full advantage of these like double, triple year, nothingnesses, right? So going from 6 something to 8 something in a full 3 year window, that could be real nice, and I think it actually makes it a decent target right there. The one thing I want to see, yeah, I'm cool with that. I don't think we need to draw that 5 line because I know we talked about it. I know I said if we lose this 550, we'll probably come to like 513 ish. That's right around 5 anyways. And then you lose that, you might come into the 4s. I think that's exactly what we said on the daily, and it's right there on the weekly, right? So Cool. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's come into SoundHound and what a flip of the switch, right? What used to be a BBAI focus with just a sprinkle of a SoundHound, right? All of a sudden, the interest is definitely right back up on this thing, all right? So, hey, really quickly, please, if you can subscribe, if you can share, it does wonders, all right? I also mentioned this in the opening thoughts, and I want to take another second to really emphasize this. Look, NVIDIA is the stock that is leading the AI revolution, right? You can put so many different adjectives into that little phrase right there, right? But the expectation really is where NVIDIA goes, so should every other, AI stock, right? This is heading down. This is actually physically under the 50 moving average. The one thing I'm going to say one more time, just because I think it's interesting. Look, confirmation is probably the only subjective thing in my strategy on these YouTube videos, right? Something's either over a line or it's under a line, right? You're either green or you're red, and one of them is over, right? You're either breaking this 50-day average line or you're missing it, and you're not even a C student, right? Like there is no subjective to any of those, right? Yo, though we are under the 50 and we've been under the 50 for the last 4 days, we have not confirmed the loss of the 8 and the 20. That's a bad like even look at this thing, right? We lose it right there. Doji don't count, doji don't count. All of a sudden we're right back over it. That's a bad candle. All of those are doji don't counts. Gap down doji is not good, but a gap down doji is still a doji. Gap down doji is not good, but it is still a gap down doji, right? So technically, we have not confirmed the loss, but yo, with NVIDIA doing this, the fact that SoundHound is doing this is very interesting, right? I think it's important to remember, and it wasn't that long ago, yo, this was really good earnings. This was a flood of good volume for the first time all year, right? Like that's the January view basically, right? This was the best day, right? By a lot, actually. And all of these, look, these are in December. January starts right here. So, I mean, it was a very important day. It was a really good day. It actually made me start thinking $20 for the first time in a while. It obviously didn't do it, right? But it's important, right? The other thing, and it's my favorite thing, I keep zooming in and out, and I apologize. Look, this golden line went from resistance to all of a sudden support and go, right? Even a little bit more emphasis right here because you can say, hey, those were the supports, right? But I'm seeing an important line go from a resistance to a support. That's an important thing for sure, right? I am liking these lower indicators. It doesn't look like MACD. I think I still see the red over green, but I like the recovery. I like that we never fell into the negative. We do have a good green over red and a very low 41 on the RSI, right? Plenty of room to go up into the 60s and 70s, let alone the 80 alarm bell, right? And I think maybe my favorite is going to be this volume right here, right? It has been well over the 50-day line for actually quite a bit. You can probably kind of even take it back to here. But what, the last 6 days of trading have all been nicely over, and easy to say more buying than selling on these greens, right? So yeah, I like it. And look, you hear me say it all the time. These three especially, they're very hard individually to break up. They should be hard to lose down. And when you cluster them, they become that much stronger. And yeah, we don't even remotely go below that 51, which is nice, right? So green did turn to red, but there's room for us to go back up and green this bad boy, bad girl for my ladies watching this thing, right? So confirm this 1430 breaks, and yeah, we're basically expecting 17. I think you can call 1485 a real good confirmation. I think I'm actually going to set that alert right there. An alert is not an immediate buy notification. It's just come check it out. But yeah, I would come check this one out on Monday. The other thing that is well worth noting is we are still over all the moving averages. There is no 200 yet. The stock has not been alive for 200 days. Man, there's a lot of lines down here. I should probably delete. I'll do that before the next video just to clean it up. But yeah, this is looking good on the weekly. Still a very healthy 61, green over red on the MACD. Soundhound is well worth eyes. Look, I'm going to say it one more time just to emphasize it. All right. I loved these four letters. BBAI arguably was my favorite stock over the last year, maybe year and a half, right? Maybe this little moment right here. Goodness, you can see we were in tracking this thing, right? I mean, this has been an important stock for a long time, right? At the minimum for this year view, right? From this October till our October today, right? When you're over the 8 and the 20, yo, you can do no wrong. All right. Once you slip below the 8, the 20 is just going to shoot you back up, just shoot you back up. Even this right here, yeah, we go physically under, but all of those are dojis. We never confirm it. It's kind of the NVIDIA thing I was saying in the beginning. And then lo and behold, we're back up and take off, right? So you can do no wrong when you're over the 8 and the 20. Then all of a sudden, you can do no right when you're under the 8 and the 20. All right. And this one's way steeper. And this one has way bigger channels that it just rode down harder, right? Like the lines are tighter here, right? That's a big one for sure. That's a big one for sure. And we basically rode those down entirely, right? Glad it wasn't that steep, but whatever, same ride down. This is tighter, and this should be a little bit harder, and maybe there's a reason to think that we've been struggling with this 8 enough, and this thing's a 16 RSI. I remember talking about this thing being this low not that long ago. I for sure do, right? But maybe there's a reason to think of a recovery back up to 550. That's basically a 10% gain. I do not think we're going to come all the way up here. I think we are at the mercy of the 8 and the 20 right now because of this gap down earnings, because of the guidance removal, because of the uncertainty with the Army contract, right? Like there were a lot of bad headlines. So I'm not here bashing any stock. I'm not here hating any stock, right? That's not my game. But you know, when you're not friends with the 8 and the 20, you're not friends with the chart reader, dude. You know what I'm saying? That was silly. Let me know your thoughts and let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. I went a little longer than I wanted to. I don't want to say I'm going to go through these quickly, but look, I think SOFI and Loan Depot both have this same. Oh man, this thing's running after hours. You kiss 3 something. I like that. Look at that. Lovely. Um, there's a lot to like here, and it's actually more the chart, you know, and it's funny. I searched this before because I talked about Loan Depot, BTE and Loan Depot, but around July it hit one of my scanners, and it was that July 8th right there, and you could see what's happened since. So I did not hold it the whole way through. I obviously really wish I did, but nonetheless, right? LDI, this thing is one that I had on my radar for a bit, and today what happened, like I said, was a notorious short seller, someone that generally says stocks suck. They actually said Loan Depot is doing really well. What I really like, and I mean the channels were oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. That's good. The let's do that. That's good. The just red, green, red, right? Like just the channels were there. And what's really nice is there is such a crazy drop that's coming up. It's actually even louder on the weekly because you can arguably say this is the weekly line that matters, right? This is that single outlier, but this has been the test line right here, right? because this all the way up here, we've only been to it once, and it was actually the wick of that weekly, right? Like this is the actual line that has been hit multiple times on this weekly chart, right? So this is an important moment because as of this, we are now over all five on the weekly and on the daily right here, right? The other thing, and look, you know me, I don't normally zoom out that much, right? But look at this monthly chart. Again, this is the only line that has been hit more times, right? Like there was an actual candle right there, few wicks, couple candles, a number of wicks. This line up here was only hit once right there, one wick right there, and that's it, right? So this is an important monthly candle. This is an important monthly resistance, weekly resistance, and daily resistance that we are basically sitting on right now, right? So the other thing really is, look, there are a lot of people making some assumptions right now about the housing market, housing conditions, this and that, right? And with both of these stocks, as interest rates go down, all right, and man, I know I was just looking at it. Give me 1 second. Sorry, let me pause this thing. Okay, cool. I am back. So look, again, I am not logged in. I have never given them my email. Next FOMC is in less than 12 days. It's 100% probability of a reduction. And there is now, and it wasn't there yesterday, it wasn't there a week ago, it wasn't there a month ago. As of today, there is now a bigger cut expectation. Yo, it's a low 10%, but the fact that they're now saying we might not even just do a 0.25, we actually might do a 0.5 cut. Yo, that's actually pretty crazy right there, right? So 100% expectation in the reduction. What that should mean is SOFI, Loan Depot, all of a sudden they should be getting more business, right? The other thing is there is just some crazy, like I said, there's some crazy like market expectations, and if that does happen, and then another one comes behind it, and then in 26, if Trump appoints the next person, because again, I really don't think he's gonna fire Powell, right? That's just political noise to me, but he is going to appoint someone. That is going to happen, and it's probably gonna be a homie of his, right? And oh man, who knows what's gonna happen with rates after that, right? So there is a reason to believe both can win. And look, as much as I love the channels on LDI, there is just nothingness on this. Monthly is getting ready to go all-time high. Weekly, obviously, all-time high thoughts. Daily is also. This is a really low 58 on the daily. This is a really high 94 on the weekly RSI. So that's just a little bit of an interesting note, but I mean, just SOFI, talk about a stock's best friend with the 8 and the 20, right? So both stocks have real interesting things going on for them. Both of them really are in that same realm of expecting rate cuts and expecting good things and a good mix of technicals as well, right? So let me know your thought. Do I have lines? Let me end it there. What are we? Yeah. So we're expecting 360 next. I really am. I don't even think I need to draw that because just after this line at 319 is another set of red, green, red, nothing, right? So put 316 in your back pocket, 320 in your back pocket. But yeah, I think 360 is my expectation. And then really after that, my goodness, it's basically that. 430. That's going to be my next two lines up. And then, yeah, we are very bullish. I think here. That's too low. 260. This thing can come as low as 260 and still be very, very bullish. All right. And then with SOFI, look, all we need to do is get over 26.15. If this gets over 26.15, it will go into all-time highs. I'm very bullish. Okay. I'm not going to use the word very. We are bullish as low as 24.25. Let's even go just a little lower and call it a flat 24. If we lose 24, that could be concerning because then it might fall down to 23, if not as low as that 22.40. All right, so hopefully we never go below 24, and I would say if we're over 24, that will be very bullish. We'll throw the very back in there. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Hey, I missed you during the last week. Got to keep the wife happy, and it lets me do this and keep us all happy over here, right? So, oh, I appreciate you all so, so much.